Hello everyone and welcome. This is Dawn and I'm sharing how I made an easy distressed Halloween background. I'll be using the Whimsy Stamps Build a Pumpkin die set. This die set has 12 pieces to it and it comes with 1 large pumpkin, 3 small pumpkins, 7 leaves, and a die that cuts out a bunch of little pumpkins that you could make like for a shaker card, which is nice. So let's get started. I'm going to ink blend a piece of cardstock cut to 5 1/4 by 4 inches for my background. I start out by blending some Distress Oxide Crackling Campfire onto the piece of cardstock. I tap off a lot of the ink onto a piece of scrap paper so I don't get a lot of those harsh dark spots on my cardstock. I start at the top of the paper and I work my way down a little bit. Then I bring in some of the Distress Oxide Spiced Marmalade and I work my way down the paper and I blend it with the Crackling Campfire. I add some Distress Oxide Fossilized Amber and I keep working my way down the paper but blending it with the color above it. Then I bring in some Distress Oxide Black Soot and I go around the edges with it, trying to make the edges a little bit darker, and then with a lighter hand I just gradually bring it a little bit in the center of the paper. To finish off the ink blending, I bring in some Distress Oxide Rustic Wilderness. I don't take a lot of care in blending it with the Fossilized Amber since I will be covering it with a fence anyways. Then to blend it with the rest of the background, I add a little bit of the black soot all around the edges and on top of the Rustic Wilderness. Next, I stamp the fence, tree limbs, and crows with a Copic friendly black ink, and then I cut them out with my brother's Scan and Cut. Now at this point I decided that maybe I wanted to make this a slimline card instead, so I ink blended me a background and then I set it aside for later. Now I used the Whimsy Stamps Build a Pumpkin die set to cut out my pumpkins from orange cardstock. I originally cut out and colored little leaves, but I ended up not using them in the end, so I wasn't going to go over them in the video. Then I take some Distress Oxide Vintage Photo and distress all the sides of the pumpkins. I ended up cutting out 5 pumpkins in total because I kept changing my mind on what the card was going to look like, and that's okay, it happens. Sometimes you have to try different things to see what you like best. To save some time, I colored in the tree branch and the fence off screen. Okay, so at this point, after laying out my whole card, I decided I really didn't like this card as a slimline and I wanted to focus more on the pumpkins and not everything else going on the card. So I went back to the original ink blended background, which I liked much better. Here I'm just laying out everything on my background just to see how it fits. I used the Whimsy Stamps Halloween Expression Stencil to put faces on the pumpkins. All I do is lay the stencil over the pumpkin and I use my ink blending brush and some black ink and I rub it over the pumpkin. I clean the stencil after each pumpkin so I don't get any ink where I don't want it to. Since the fence isn't long enough, I had to cut out another fence and then I just cut off 2 of the columns to extend my fence. Then I put foam tape on the back of the fence and I adhere it to the card. I put glue on the back of the pumpkins and I adhere them in front of the fence. Then I put some foam tape on the back of 2 of the pumpkins and I adhere them in front of the other pumpkins. I used the Whimsy Stamps Spirited Sentiments and stamped Happy Hauntings onto the card. Next, I trimmed down the tree branch to the size I wanted, and then I put foam tape on the back of the tree branch and adhered it to the card. I put foam tape on the back of the ghost and the 2 crows, and I adhered them to the card. And to finish off the card, I adhered the card front to an A2 size card. And that completes my card for today. I would love for you to leave a comment below and let me know what you think of the card. And if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any upcoming videos and new product releases. Thanks for stopping by and have yourself a wonderful day.